Okay, so glad everyone could be here today, even though you are often in the unseen Zoom land. And this is Rod Thompson, designer presently in Memphis. I happen to know him through AIGA Memphis. I've known him for years, and he's also been the president, the fearless president, for the past couple years. And I was thinking, who can we ask for this monthly Conversations with Designers? And I was like, duh. I mean, you have a great story, and you are also so good at talking to students and beginning designers and reminding them how to best find success. So hi, Rod.
Great, great.
Hi, Rod.
How are you?
I'm okay. I told you I'm fancy. I got earrings in. I got my Zoom gear on. So yeah.
Right. I had to go change into my Zoom gear.
Rest.
All right. So well, let's get started. Where did you begin? So it's not Memphis.
No, actually, my story started in undergraduate and at Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky. And
Where
I've
is
been
that, by the way?
practicing.
Where is Murray, Kentucky, by the way?
It's in Western Kentucky. It's east of Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Okay.
And it's north of Paris, Tennessee.
Okay.
So it's right in the little crevice of Kentucky. You'll have to excuse me. I wear aligners, so I may have a lisp every now and then when I talk. So,
That's okay.
But in 1998, which was so long ago, that was around my junior year in college.
Yeah, we're the same age. Yeah. Carry on. Actually, I'm older than you. Okay. All right. Carry on. Couple years.
Leaving practice one day, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to major in. So one of my teammates, I play football. One of my teammates asked me to participate in a class with him, a computer graphics class. I was already a computer geek. Go to this class. I draw all the time on the side. And I go to this class and they give us this, it wasn't a Wacom tablet. It was some tablet that you draw on. And I've been hooked ever since. Going into the second semester of my junior year, I got hired by the Student Government Association. So I was responsible for doing concert posters. So Three Doors Down, Dave Matthews Band, the comedian Sinbad, I was responsible for doing their posters for campus advertising. And I never looked back. And I was I was very fortunate to become hired as a graphic designer 2 months after I graduated from college without ever doing an internship.
Oh my
couldn't
gosh.
do internships because I played football, so that was.
Well, your internship was kind of the fact that you'd done work on campus already. At least you'd had some experience, something.
Right.
Something,
right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I can go back and do it all over again, I would sit in the athletic department and just design stuff in the athletic department. But that was so long ago, we didn't do all of that then.
Yeah. So when you got your job, was it in Murray, Kentucky, or was it someplace else?
No, I actually was hired at a newspaper in Nashville. So I left Kentucky, moved to Nashville. That was going great. Then
and by the way,
9/11.
how was that? Just because, this is about the time where a lot of these students are, only as you know, like I know it was a million years ago. But what was that like for you? Like moving to a new city, did you have a lot of support? Did you know anybody? Did you like not knowing anybody? Like, how did it go?
I was fortunate to know people in Nashville because I was commuting back and forth from Murray to Nashville when I didn't have anything to do. I would go to Nashville, hang out with friends, and then go back to school if I wasn't running track or at football practice. And just hitting the ground, at that time, there was a lot of get the local newspaper, look at the help wanted ads, with the invention of the internet.
Sorry, hang on one second. Hang on. Asked you start video. Sorry, I cut you off. Oh no. Turn your camera back on, Rod. Sorry, I cut you off.
No problem.
Yeah, whatever, you were talking, yeah.
I was talking about Nashville. So,
yes.
I had designed my resume. I made my resume look like a newspaper at that time. And so when I was sending it to potential employers, they were looking at that like, he has this format. Like, that's why I was hired by a newspaper. He has the formatting down, and that's around the time InDesign first came out. I dumped Quirk for InDesign.
You did it that quickly? You dumped it that quickly? You were one of the rare.
It came in as a beta edition, and I taught myself InDesign while still working on Quirk.
Whoa.
So that just, it wasn't a luck of a draw. It was just, I had I guess at that time, a strong portfolio for that area because design wasn't a big thing in Nashville.
It wasn't?
So no, now it's
everything.
Now it's everything, but at that time it wasn't. So I was fortunate enough to put my foot in the door there.
How long did you work there?
I was in Nashville for 3.5 years.
Which is a lot when you're first starting. By the way, any of you guys who are listening, if you speak with people in other professions, they'll look at your resume if you've worked at like 2 or 3 places in the first like 4 years of your life, and they'll think, "Oh God, you keep getting fired." Designers are like, "Sweet, you got lots of work. You have jobs, good." Go ahead.
But 9/11 happened, and I lost my job.
Yeah.
And
the economy can be really crappy to us.
And I kind of fluttered in the abyss. Luckily, I had some experience working at Nike. So my love for athletics, that happened. Nope, not a designer.
Experience working at, okay.
Not a designer.
Excuse me? That's a big client.
So then I went and started playing arena football. I moved to Greenville, South Carolina. And the arena team I was working for was about to hire this firm to do their marketing, their billboards. And they were like, hold up, doesn't Rod have, graphic design? So I did these 2 big billboards on the main interstates in Greenville, South Carolina, to promote our arena football team. Then we got a cease and desist from the Arena League because they weren't supposed to hire me to do work outside of playing football. So that was fun.
By the way, if you guys don't know what that means, a cease and desist is pretty much a law order. It's pretty much like, if you don't stop that, we're going to sue your butt. Yeah.
Well, they weren't going to sue the team. They were going to fine the team.
Fine. Okay. But it's a warning.
For giving me a job outside of my playing. So all that went through and came back to Memphis. I wasn't excited about coming home. When I came home, it was really hard to find a job as a graphic designer.
And what years were those? Sorry to interrupt.
That was 2003, 4.
Oh, yeah. Memphis was still making a comeback, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was getting out of
people wanted to hire me. And at that time, I had 5 years experience. People were trying to hire me at $8 and $10 an hour. And I was like, no.
Memphis might be cheap to live, but no. No, not cheap.
So using my networking skills that I had from college, called a couple of friends who were business majors, finance majors, marketing majors, kind of picked their brain about some things. And instead of working a dead end $8 job, I started freelancing. I started asking people, hey, let me design this for you. Around that time, we were still doing Myspace. I'm dating myself.
But you were still doing what? What was it called?
Myspace.
Oh, MySpace. Oh, yeah. Oh, I had MySpace, please. Yes.
Yeah. So, I got on MySpace and was asking my friends, hey, if anybody is starting a business, I'll brand your business for free.
For free? But you got the work.
I was already broke, so I couldn't get any broke.
Couldn't get more broke.
Right. So
now, how are you paying? By the way, on a side note, even though we were doing Creative Suite, wasn't even called Creative Suite then, but
no.
How did you get your? Did you Youre, matey? Did you have some pirated software? We didn't talk about this.
Pirated software.
You can't do that anymore, you guys, with the Creative Cloud, but it used to be.
No, I didn't have pirated software. No, I
Of
didn't.
course not. Of course you
No,
didn't.
I
Neither
didn't.
did I. No. Anyway.
Anyway, so those are the wonder years. Anyway, so building brands for people locally turned into financial gains because word of mouth started happening, because luckily for me at that time, Memphis was not a big branding place. People's idea of logos, well, branding were logos that they got off of clip art, and they put their entity name beside it and called it a day. And I started showing people how rebranding could actually gain profit for, financially. Trying to think. What was
And so, and at that time, you were one of the few that were doing it in Memphis, right? Because, yeah. So in that way, it was good that it was
outside of the agencies.
Right.
So I went back to my high school, Kirby High School in Memphis. I rebranded Kirby.
You.
I literally created a logo that we gained profits off of from selling apparel, and I took a portion of the profits for pay. That's how I learned about exactly how to make money out of nothing. So for everybody who's listening, if you're still in college, all of your affiliations, whether it be fraternity, I forgot about my fraternity. Anyway, whether your affiliations, fraternity, social groups, churches, high schools, all these people are potential clients because you're already vested. You go back to your high school, and if they have a drab logo or brand, hey, principal such and such, look, this is what I'm doing. Is it in your budget to do X, Y, and Z? And you do it. And the first project was redesigning the basketball court. So it's still there. And then they put another court, and I rebranded that one. So that one's still there. So that was 16 years ago. And that's
yesterday. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and even though, so that's something that there's a back and forth about this, that because you and I both know that AIGA pushes the fact that work should not be done for free, because it downgrades the value of then people expect all the work for free. But I also, like you, when I first started, if you give your work away for very, very cheap, at least, you'll get you'll get the experience. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't say it was free.
Okay.
There was a bartering going on.
Gotcha.
I say free because there was no financial gains made by me, but in all actuality, by doing one or two things on the barter system, it brought me more money later.
That makes sense. And also with the barter system, do you ever have things like, like, well, if I do this for free, I'm going to do this, but you're going to give me, I'm just going to say, like, if you do something for a restaurant and you get free food, that sort of bartering, you get a thing from them. Do you think that works too?
At times, but you have to be careful because, like you said, you don't want to dilute the work.
Yeah. If everything is free, then it doesn't help any of us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because then people start saying, well, hey, I gave this guy a meal. Let's say he was at Reef Chris. I gave this guy a meal for $100, and he did all of this for $100. And then later in life, you're looking at like, that was bad.
Yeah. But you know what? Actually, speaking of the money exchanged, and any of you guys who are listening who are in professional practice, or anybody can come to a talk that we're having on Tuesday the 8th, there's some time coming up, called Don't Get Screwed, about taxes. Like, what would you say about taxes and if any of these students are going to go into freelancing, which you've done your share of, what would you say about taxes?
Taxes. Okay. Very simple. take your profit, take 20 to 33% of your profit and set it aside in the savings.
And don't touch
If,
it.
and don't touch it. If you get lucky, you won't use all of it. So you can pay yourself back at the end of the year during tax season. But the worst thing to do is get caught not having any of that and owe Uncle Sam at the end of the year because they want their money
Thousands of dollars.
tax day on
Mhm.
April 15th.
Mhm.
And if you don't have their money by April 15th, they're going to penalize you. So you will owe them more than what you owe them. So I know that from experience.
Yeah.
Young, hey, young, you learn young, you
Learn your
learn old,
lessons.
as long as you learn.
Yep.
So, and like I said, the worst thing that can happen is at the end of the tax season, the money you've been putting up, you don't use all of it. Now you have a surplus.
Yeah.
Now you can go buy that new Mac Pro that's $7,000 and but
speaking of things like Mac Pro, even though you work for Shelby County government right now, right?
that's one of many. Well, no, my main job is a nonprofit. It happens to be a church.
Okay.
The Shelby County government is my community work, but I get paid for it. But I look at that as my civic community work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go ahead.
Do you can you do things like write off a computer on taxes because it's your job?
Yes. Typically,
It doesn't have a lot of effect on your taxes, but technically you can.
No, it does. It really does.
Ooh,
Technically, if what I try to do annually is I put a wish list together, January 1. I buy it through the year, and everything that I don't have by December 31st, I go ahead and purchase it all, regardless, before the end of the tax year, because it's all a write-off come the first part of the year.
Yeah.
So I get that back. Well, I get a portion of it back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if, like, my laptop was $3,500. I got a Mac Pro that's kind of amped out. Out of the 3,500, let's go that back.
You got what? Sorry, you get what?
35 out of 3,500 I paid. I got like 2,200 of that back.
I need your tax person. Oh my God.
Me, I learned how to do taxes.
That is good. That is very good.
So for everyone out there, I'm sorry, Nikki. I've never worked in an agency. The only agency I ever worked in was my own. It's my boutique agency, and I've grown over the years by having friends in agencies that I've never worked in an agency.
That is
so
rare.
People,
you are a rare specimen.
So for people who are here who think that if you don't work in an agency, you're doomed, no. There are plenty entities that have agency-like characteristics that can get you just as much, if not sometimes more, experience as a designer. That's my shameless plug for not being don't say you're a failure if you don't go to an agency.
No, I completely, I get you. I was one of the weirdos that I wanted to, my entire dream was to be in an agency when I first began. So
me too. My last name is Thompson. I wanted to work for Thompson & Company. Then I wanted to work for Archer Malmo. I wanted to work for Red Deluxe and all these people in Houghton. And then I started looking at them and I'm like, I don't need a team of people. No. I don't need a team of people. I know enough people. So if I need to put together a proposal as a team or as a agency, I can do that. Yeah. So if anybody has seen my work with Philander Smith College, I did all that by myself. I did what would take an agency to do. I did it by myself. And it was like, was I exhausted? Yeah. Was the financial gain great? Yes.
Well, and it all worked out.
It all worked out.
But that is part of it. So even though you did that your own damn self, which is good. But when you said, if you need to reach out and if you need to put a team together, that is part of what networking is, right? So how do you keep track of your network? How do you keep track of it? I mean, I meet people and then is it a matter of old school where you keep business cards? Is it a matter of like, what do you do? How do you keep it in your head?
I built my team through conferences, particularly through AIGA conferences. Um, Nashville was a spot where I met designers. No AIGA affiliation at the time. Even in South Carolina, when I got back to Memphis, I made it my job to seek out other designers, and I started meeting people. I started coming to AIGA meetings and meeting people. If I held a conversation about sports, and they were like, yeah, like-minded people. So I wasn't trolling them to put them on a team. I was just like people I can converse with. And then it started growing and growing and growing. And then I became part of the AIGA leadership. So I started going to leadership conference. So I started meeting people from Seattle, Orlando, Miami.
Those connections are amazing. Yeah.
My oldest daughter lives in Atlanta, and I was going back and forth to Atlanta to AIGA functions and meeting designers there. I was like, okay, this worked out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're a younger designer, you don't have the money to do those things.
Yeah.
But I feel like you should travel and meet people. Get on the internet is something else. You get on the internet and you find out that people are having meetups and drinking draws. I'm not an advocate of alcohol. And all these other things, and you can go and meet good people who are designers. Luckily here in Memphis, we have Josh Horton, who's the founder and president of the Creative Works Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Me knowing him has elevated my contact list extremely.
Yeah.
Every time I look up and I look on TV, there's a young gentleman by the name of Nicholas Smith. Nick works for Disney. Nick was sitting next to me at the conference, him and his girlfriend, and we were just chit-chatting. He was from Houston. I lived in Houston once upon a time in my life, and we keep in touch. So on the internet and on CNN and on Netflix, I see Nick's work and I'm like, I know that guy. Like I can call him and like, hey, I saw the good work, good job. And he's like, man, appreciate it. And and I met him at a conference here in Memphis. So those little interactions with people, they become, I don't want to call them lifelong friendships because I'm not that old, but they become contacts that you can call later.
Yeah, I guess what we grew up being calling a network, but it's not quite so aggressive now. It's more called a community.
Definitely, it's definitely a community.
Yeah. How do you keep track of everybody though? Are you just one of those people that is blessed with like you hear a name and it's always in there forever? And if so, I kind of hate you. I'm so jealous. But
yes, somewhat. I went to 2 universities. I played football at 2 universities. I can pretty much recall half my teammates on both teams. You're talking about 85 players on each team, and we all keep in touch, whether it be social media or text message.
Okay, my students know I can't keep track of, and I've had them for like 4 years, and I'm like, who are you again? So, I mean, wow. So
and that's not including college, arena, the guys I know from the NFL. That's not even including those people. So
the guys I know from the NFL, I like how you just kind of knock that one.
I'm old. I've been around.
Well, like I have my professional practice students. They have to put something called a job hunt journal together, and they probably hate me for it. But that's because of people like I can't keep track of people that I meet, and who knows, maybe when they're done with my class, they'll be like, yeah, that was stupid. But as long as they use what, like you've got your brain cells will do it. Like you remember everybody you ever met and who knows who, knows who, knows who, knows who, knows who, knows who. Not to try and take over the world secretly for some, malicious intent. It's how the business works and how you can help people, not just for yourself, but help others, right?
Right, definitely. Whenever I got hired at my new job well, I had another job. I don't like to talk about it because I really didn't like it. It was back in October. I got hired for a
And I've had
company.
jobs like that too. I understand.
Yeah, I got hired for a company. We do all the design for Kroger, and I told you about that. So I don't talk about it, but got a new job in February, and so every job that I get now, I have a list of people. It's like, okay, she's not working, he's not working. I send job offers that I get to them. And I'm sure the recruiters are like, how did you get this? Don't worry about it. Don't tell them where you got it from. Just know you got it. And I send stuff like that because if I'm not helping the community, then I'm not doing it because, one thing that corporate people and especially designers, they hate to talk about salaries. No, I need to talk about salaries. So I need to make sure that although I have 20 years experience and you only have 5, I may look at you and your resume and your portfolio. I'm like, hey, you're better than me at this. So I will never let a potential employer pay you less because of your experience. And I'm like, no, if you're going to hire this young lady, you have to pay her this
The amount
because
of
she's
talent.
worth that. Exactly.
Mhm.
She's worth that because her work is at par with what you need.
So you guys listening to that, remember that when you are negotiating for yourself. I hate negotiating. I want to bring Rod in to negotiate for me now. Good. But I mean, know your worth. That's
Know your worth.
I always came in before. I'm an academic now, so it's a little bit different. But when I was back in the design world and working for agencies, I was just like, whatever, I'm just happy to be here. Pay me whatever.
I was the same way. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Then
It's a job.
you sit there for years and then you realize what they get paid and then what they pay you. You're like, that math ain't right. Because I did at work. You didn't do anything. And I'm fighting for extra sick day,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely negotiating is a thing. I tell all of you all to stay privy to the regional salaries.
And how would you find out regional salaries?
I was just going to say that the creative group does an annual
Yep, I'm finding
guide
it right now.
on salaries. I had it on my desk and I'm looking. Anyway, it's a 6x11 document. They have it in PDF and sometimes they print them. Go online. The creative group, is it .com or is it .org?
Okay, I'm
Anyway.
putting it in the chat right now. If the 2021 isn't doing it, then see, I think this goes, but I've got it. It's going in the chat as soon as I find why.
Good. See, you guys have like the best resource in Nikki. She's like super excellent.
Yeah. Stop. Tell me more. Okay.
You go in there. The creative group runs by Robert Half now. It's the creative and marketing salary data and hiring trends. Go and look at your experience. If you have 1 or 2 years experience, and then it tells you in your region, if you're in Arkansas, that you should not take under 42,000. Then unless you're starving, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because people try to minimize designers as if we're not important. Like I was looking at a Yahoo post the other day. It said, during the pandemic and quarantine, the most irrelevant job.
We're non-essential. We're non-essential.
I think graphic designer was like number 2.
Yeah. Nobody needs us.
And I used to work at a sign company. And all of these, what they call wayfinding stickers on the floor for your 6 feet distancing. Some designer did that. All of those posters and stickers and decals with masks and all that, a designer did that. So, excuse my French, behind the hell are we non-essential when we did all the work to make sure people were safe and they could be healthy? So we're not doctors, but we're damn near close. So
We know how to communicate. By the
So
way,
you have
can one of you guys, did that chat go to you? It says everyone in the waiting room, but I can't get to the non-waiting room. Did you guys get to see that? Somebody take off your mute and let me know, or respond in the chat.
it's not in my chat box.
Ooh, one new message. No chat here. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what, I don't know why it won't let me. Oh, there it is. Isn't that neat? Just like when you ask the IT person to
Aha.
fix the computer and then they show up and the computer works, but they haven't done anything. That's just what happened. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So, let's see, we've told them about money. We've told them about taxes. We've told them about how do you not how do you not get burned out? If something tells me that's not in your nature, Rod.
It's not. I
Okay,
tell
so you
people
guys just have to be Rod. That's all.
No, I tell people all the time, if I could design for free, I would do it. But I have 4 daughters and a wife, so that didn't work that way. So I stay busy. I don't do the same thing over and over again. I don't just do web design. I don't just do print. I don't just do logos. I don't just do t-shirt. I do a little bit of everything. And because I do a little bit of everything, it keeps me going. It's fresh.
Is it
At the
also
time,
does that also mean sometimes it's a challenge that you have to learn new things and do new?
exactly. My 12 and 13-year-old daughters a couple years ago, now they're 16 and 14. They put me on Procreate.
Oh yeah,
on the
most everybody
iPad.
here knows Procreate.
So now this has become my biggest friend because I love to draw, I love to paint, and being a fine artist, I was like, "Ooh, this is new. This is nice." And then I find myself like I won't put it down, and then I'm just waiting on a client to say, "Hey, can you hand draw us this?"
As
Yes,
a matter
I
of
can.
fact.
Exactly. So it's all about finding the thing.
Who was it you were talking about we were talking about it in the AIGA Memphis meeting just before this, where there were artists who were like the ones who were doing the shoe artwork,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look her up right now. Britt Davis is one. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay.
So you guys can Google Britt Davis. And what is her teammate's name?
Not Nikita, right? No,
No, it's not.
you were going to set her up to meet with Nikita. Yeah.
Her teammate, who also works for her, his name is KP. So her name KP. I hate autocorrect people. It won't let me do it. Aha.
Aha.
Okay. Those two people, they're women designers. They're the creative lead and the senior graphic designers for the Atlanta United and the Atlanta Falcons. And what they do is they're artists who happen to be graphic designers. And what they've done is they've created these design kits for soccer. They've done marketing campaigns for football, and they've done a lot of social justice and creative design for as they say, soccer boots and soccer shoes and women's basketball shoes in various leagues. And man, they are like, as the young people say, their drip is something serious because they do it all. And these two women, man, they're something else.
They even like
I
paint
know.
shoes though. Didn't you say they actually
they
that?
actually painted the shoes. Yes.
Not
So,
design something that was printed on them. They painted the damn shoes.
Right. They took their graphic design skills and fused it with their art skills and just made it work. Their creative director, he's a Full Sail alum like me, and he gives them their way. He just says, "Hey, go, just go."
So, you know what, that reminds me though, what do you think?
So hold on, what? Oh,
Oh, I saw them for a
it's not.
second though. They got some
Right.
serious attitude. I love it.
Yeah. So they
Love it.
those two. So the Atlanta United, which is the soccer team, did a thing with the guy that plays for them. He won the MVP of the league, and he wore a crown. So they wore crowns in reference to him. So it was like, do your thing.
I love it. I love it. So what is actually, so speaking of, you know, Atlanta and Memphis and all that, so Jonesboro is about the size of what Murray, Kentucky was, I think, in that,
Mhm.
you know, you are the students who are there. Well, first of all, the Delta region of the United States is not exactly overflowing with money, you know, compared to like New York City or something like that. And Jonesboro is a small town. It's in a saturated market because you've got an art school there and it's not a big town. So I guess my main thing is, how important is it that students, when they graduate, actually go to a city, like a real city? I know some of you guys think Jonesboro is big. Like, what do you think? Or do you think
Okay.
that in 2021 they can make it in a small place?
Some small places can be your gold mine.
Yeah.
Hone your English skills and your writing skills, definitely. And if you
Wait
are
a
from
second. Wait a
small,
second. Can you say that again? What was that? So they should learn how to write well? Really?
if you learn how to write well, you can explain to people and verbalize why you're essential. You can go back to your small towns if you're from small towns. I'm thinking in response to being at Murray, there are so many people from small towns.
Yeah.
Jonesboro, small town, so you have all these. You could make a nice living in a small town by just showing people that how important you could be. Let's say you're from thinking. Let's say you're from a small city like 12 to 20,000 people. Nobody makes signs. Nobody makes all those things. You could be a designer and you go in and you can help the local sign shop and shine if you don't want to come to the big city. Because I know some people are scared by the horrors of the big cities and don't let that scare you because there's crime everywhere.
Oh yeah.
There's crime. There's crime in Hawaii, and there's nowhere you can go.
And they're an island.
You're an island. You're stuck. So, but if you come to a big city, the options are even greater. You go from being from a local sign shop, because I started back when I first came to Memphis. I worked at a large format printer. I designed vehicle wraps. I did basically mobile advertising. So you have to do something when it's driving that is legible, that you can read it, and everything. The contrast is high. So when the social media plugs are on the vehicle, they're easy to read. So somebody can be at a stop sign and like, hey, you can put that in. So,
And
and
even though
then
that
you,
sounds easy for us to understand, there's a whole lot of people that don't know how to do that at all. And we take it for granted because we think it's second nature.
we get so comfortable in wanting the agency lifestyle. I have my former boss, he has an associate's degree in graphic design. And I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue your bachelor's, but Polly is creative enough to where he makes $85,000 a year, plus he's guaranteed a $15,000 bonus every year.
In this
Simply
part of
because
the country, that's ridiculous.
he's right here in Memphis, and he was able to command this salary because he was one of the first people in the city of Memphis to do vehicle wraps.
And so he got it.
and people are doing raps now, but if you still see raps to this day, they still don't have the necessary aesthetics to be legible. The contrast isn't right. And it's just like, hey, I just threw a design on a car and put it there and let's go. And things like that are why I tell people agencies aren't necessary to work in. They're great to work in. Don't get me wrong. I understand that's everybody's goal, but just don't overlook certain things where you can make a nice living being a designer. Like the guy who's the graphic designer for the Shelby County schools here in Memphis. Anybody related to him? I'm sorry. Anyway, he's not the best designer, but I know his salary and I'm like, really? That's what you make? And I see all this stuff that you do. Interesting. So you could get into certain jobs where you can make a great living and do great things, especially if you're a great designer. So the key is to always be a great designer. If you're always been a great designer,
and that you can sell yourself, right? That you can sell.
And you're that much more valuable to the entity that you work for.
Yes.
Or your own entity.
Yes. Actually, that is a good time because it is now 45 seconds until my 40-minute reminder was going to go. That I mean, you know me, Rod. I could keep talking to you for another 2 hours, and we'd be fine. Just keep talking.
Definitely, because you and I do this.
But I think what I'm going to do is we'll talk a little bit more. But I want you guys who are listening to start thinking of any questions. The reason why I'm giving it a second is because I know hopefully many of you are in it listening, and you haven't thought about questions again. So just think for a moment. And in about a minute, I'm going to stop recording and open it up so we can all see each other and see if there's any, and turn on your cameras or leave it off if you want to. And then see, there's my 40-minute. And then just see like what kind of questions you have. Like, for example, what do students often ask you, Rod? Like, or what do you think is the best advice to give? I don't know, something like that. See, I know it's weird to be like, and go.
The best advice I can give a design student is don't ever get discouraged. You've put in too much time to learn the fundamentals of being a designer, to constantly have to draw and ideate and constantly change based on critique. Never take critiques personal and never give up. You know, they always say, hey, you go to college and you're more than likely not working your field. No. Stay strong in it because, you know, you're needed. You're needed. Your view is necessary for the growth of the field. And
even if it's not something like you're working in an ad agency, which for me would have made me sad, for you would have made you happy. But, you know, when you were getting out of college, you weren't like, I'm going to go work for a vehicle wrap place. But that was where you found really great beginning. And it's still design. And it's still design. And it's still, yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording so I don't break the law. And